Hey guys, Avishutu here, and in this demonstration I will be showing you how to properly set up remote desktop connection and pretty much how it does work, right? Now, remote desktop connection is a very simple and very invaluable tool to IT practitioners out there, as it allows an IT technician or an administrator to control, or let's say, log into another computer that is on the same network without having to be face to face in front of it, or standing personally in front of it, right? Now, this is especially beneficial in large enterprise environments where, you know, mobility then, or going around tends to be a bit of a tiresome thing. So the network administrator can have a system set up where he or she can log in remotely over the network to that user's computer and resolve any little issue. Now, this is only with the case that if the user's computer who's having the problem isn't having a network problem, because remote desktop connection uses network resources to control or communicate back and forth from both computers. Right now, in this demonstration, I'll be using two virtual machines, that is Windows Server 2008 and Windows 7. Right, so let me just get these up and running side by side. Nice, we just position them. Good. Right. So basically, how it works is that you use a utility that comes with Windows that allows remote desktop connection, and upon doing so, when you start it up, you type in your destination or the name or the IP of the computer or server you wish to connect to, and you just click connect, enter credentials that has privilege to use remote desktop, and once successful, you are connected and you are able to see that server or that other machine's desktop on your desktop in front of you. Right? So it basically brings that another computer on the network straight to your own computer, so you don't have to leave your station. Right? So in order to do this, I'll first have to make sure that, well, I have network connectivity, right? And I mean, these networks have to be on the same subnet, have to be seeing each other, right? So let me just verify that. Right now, to make the ensure that the computer is seeing each other, right, or that to ensure that remote connection will be possible, you have to make sure that the computers, or both of them, are communicating. Right now, here you see we have static IP settings of, well, 192.168.0.1, right? Now this remains static because of course this is my server. We don't have servers go on dynamic settings, so we leave that as static, right? So that's okay, right? While on Windows 7, I can keep this as, well, dynamic. So to find out the IP address, I can either do it in command prompt, which I will do now, through the command ipconfig, right? And there you see my IP address, 192.168.0.5, right? So that is the destination IP address that if I want to connect from another computer to this computer, I will use this IP address or the name of the computer, which I will show you in both instances how it works, right? So now that we established that both of them have, well, IPs, now let me just do a little ping command. A ping command is basically to make sure that there's connectivity or communication between the two computers, or computer and servers or switches, right? So I will do ping 192.168.0.1, right? And there you see I am getting a reply from my Windows Server 2008 VM. So that confirms that Windows 7 and Windows Server, well, Windows 7 is seeing Windows Server. So now let me see if this is reciprocated, right? So I run command prompt as administrator. Also, I do a ping command of 192.168.0.5, I believe it is. Yes, and there we go. So it's successfully pinged. So basically, packets sent to and from Windows 7 and Windows Server are communicating. So we know there that the network is functional and we can use remote desktop. Now, To make sure that remote desktop is properly configured, we have to go into the tool that is available in Windows. So we right click on my computer on, well, in this case I'm using Windows Server 2008, right? Go on properties. Under that, to the left, there are a few subcategories. I can choose advanced system settings or remote settings or device manager. In this case, we go remote settings, right? Now, to the top here, there are four subcategories, one of which will be remote, which is the one we'll be using, right? So right under here, we will have three options to choose from. In this case, we want to allow connections to be, well, to come into this virtual machine or Windows Server, right? Now, by default, it will be set to don't allow connections as a security measure, right? So I'll just set this to being less secure just for this tutorial only, this little demonstration, right? In a live environment, you'll have to use this third option here, which uses the same level of authentication, which maximizes security during a remote connection. So I will just leave it as a second option, right, for now, and I set apply, right? So that's that. So that means that any other computer can access this Windows Server through remote desktop for now, right? Next, I will do the same thing on Windows 7, which I go on properties on my computer. Then I will go on the remote settings, right, which over here it says allow remote assistance connections to this computer. This is checked. Again, I will set this from don't allow connections to allow connections from other computers running any version of remote desktop, right? Again, for this tutorial alone, I'm only using the less secure version. So I will apply that. Good. That's it. Nice. Now, to actually connect to another computer, you can do this using two ways, right? There's an actual remote desktop utility that you can use, right? That is the remote desktop connection right here, right? So I can connect now. As you can see, there's already a name populated. Now this is the name of my server, which is Windows Server 2008, and the name is Win 2008 as indicated here, right? Now I can use that to connect to my server, or I can use the IP, which is 192.168.0.1, right? So first I will use the name, right? Okay, now it requests that I have credentials on account that has the privilege to use remote desktop connection. So I will use the administrator account with domain level privilege, right? And I select OK, right? So it normally takes a while to connect depending on network speed and traffic, etc., stuff like that, right? And even distance that connection has to go. So in this case, it shouldn't take too long, right? Now, once it's completed, you will see that my Windows Server becomes logged out and the desktop appears on Windows 7, right? Allowing me to fully navigate and do stuff, even restart the server, right? So here you go, you see, right? Nice, good. See, so this is my Windows Server 2008 virtual machine, and it is logged out as indicated here. And here is Windows 7. Now, when you're in a remote desktop environment or setup, then right, you'll see to the top here that this is like a folder where you can minimize, go straight to your desktop, and then when you maximize it back, you return to Windows Server 2008, allowing two simultaneous environments to run on one desktop. Right? So here I can do things like restart and stuff like that. Anything, pretty much server maintenance, updates. So this is what administrators typically use when they want to log into their many servers and virtual machines to perform any sort of technical procedures, right? So here I will just show you how this works. So I will restart my Windows Server 2008, right? So I don't have any reason, so I just click that. Right, so once I do that, the connection will be disconnected from Windows 7 as you see here, and on Windows Server the restart is already in process, right? So it's stopping services, etc., so that may take a little while, right? Now when it's back up, I will show you how it works from Windows Server 2008 back onto Windows 7, which is pretty much the same thing, but just so that you know that the communication process is bidirectional and not just one way. All right. So I will just pause this video for a while, and when everything is when I'm logged in, I will resume. Okay, so we are back, and Windows Server 2008 has successfully started and stuff, right? So yeah, that was one way on which remote desktop could have worked. Now that was the way where I used the name Win Server, well, Win 2008 in this case, right? Now the next thing I'm about to show you is a shortcut key plus using the IP address of the destination you wish to connect to. So this shortcut, right, is what, well, in the start menu on the run you type mstsc, right, and you see it populate over here, right, which is the same remote desktop, just this is what you use to search it up, right? So once you punch it in, right, this is the IP I want to connect to, .5, which is the IP address of Windows 7, right, and I'll click connect. Right, now Windows 7, or actually remote desktop on a domain, does not allow for you to have blank passwords. So you must have an administrator password or a relevant account with adequate privileges, right? Authentication rights. So in this case, let me just enter my password there. Right, so it's connecting. Let me hope it connects. It may take a little while. Right, and once I do that, I'll be able to gain control of a Windows 7, my Windows 7 VM. Right. Okay, and there we go. You see Windows 7 has been logged out here, and the desktop has been loaded onto my Windows Server 2008 VM. Right, so yeah, I can easily do anything, and well, like I did in the Windows Server previously where I restarted, I can easily just, well, log off, or, well, not really log off, but I can restart and stuff like that. Right, so in this case I will just disconnect this connection. Right, and here we go. Windows Server 2008 is back, and Windows 7 is, well, still logged off, but I can now successfully log in. Now the thing about it is that once I log in here, right, and someone else wishes to use, well, remote desktop, it would log me out, or you will see a prompt then stating, well, you know, you'd want to log me out, right? But that's the only thing. But other than that, remote desktop, nothing to it. Allows IT work to be extremely efficient and easy, where you can address a lot more issues without having to personally be by 10 or 15 computers at a time. Alright, so that basically concludes this little demonstration on remote desktop. I hope it was, well, insightful a little bit and you learned something. So thanks for viewing. Bye bye.